Ladies and gentlemen, he is the founder and director of True Global Ventures. Please welcome, all the way from Singapore, Mr. Dusan Stojanovic. Mr. Stojanovic, please. Go get him.
Wow, that was a kind of welcoming. So just to see who we have in the crowd here, what has happened since 2013. How many women do we have in the crowd? Can we see hands up? Oh, it looks better. I would say 20, 25, almost 30%. Good. Well done, Europe. Another question, how many of you have done an investment in a startup, an angel investment? Okay, so it's not actually everybody, it's half. Now it gets trickier. How many of you have actually invested in crypto? Okay, 10%. How many have invested in ICOs? Roughly maybe the same 10%, same people shaking up hands. So let's see if this is going to work. Which direction should I go? Are you doing it? Okay, next one please. Okay, so he talked about the 3 exits. What I want to talk to you about are the 3 things that we did end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So we were part of the second ICO in Australia called Bounty Sword powered by Kenya. That was a 12 million Australian dollar ICO, the 27th of December. Great day, by the way, 27th of December. Then the 31st of December, also very great, the first security token ICO done by SharesPost, from what I know, the first one in the world. And then a couple of weeks later, the ICO of Brazil of $19.5 million in Singapore. So these were basically 3 key events that I participated in 3.5 weeks. And fundamentally, that's the shift that I see in the industry, that whatever Bybars told you about, money, commodity money, is out, just to be clear. Smart money is in. What does that mean? It basically means that the risk rewards are higher than ever. If you are backing a company that will do an ICO, it can potentially be a scam, and you will not only lose your money, but your own savings and your honor. So that's the risk. The reward is that you find a company that is a truly true ICO, and the rewards are immense. So the risk-reward paradigm is way bigger than ever, and either we find a space there or we don't. I have chosen to try to find a space there. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. So what we do, forget it, but we invest in all these cities that David mentioned. We invest in serial entrepreneurs in those cities that we mentioned. What I do want to mention here is it's in New York, San Francisco, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo, Kuala Lumpur, Berlin, Stockholm, Paris, London, soon Mumbai, Istanbul, Dubai, Luxembourg, and 20 other cities. My dream is to create a $1 billion tokenized decentralized fund with 300 main angels in the world in 30 cities. And I started that Concord 2 weeks ago. Now, what about the ICOs? The numbers are great and fantastic. As you can see, we surpassed VC equity in 2017. $6 billion were invested in ICOs. The VCs invested only half of that in blockchain companies. Why? Very simple. All the entrepreneurs in blockchain companies would not get funding from the VCs because they didn't have the traction that they were looking for. You don't get traction with new technology that are fundamentally changing the planet. So that's why they invented the ICOs, where you get, number one, what Bybars said, customers and financing and liquidity for your investors. So in the world, a lot of things happening. I want to give you 3 examples of things that are important. Blockchain Capital was the first fund that has tokenized itself and is offering liquidity in the fund itself. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. They are not investing in ICOs. They are doing early stage investments like everybody else is doing here. The only thing they've done is that they have a fund, no matter if it's an early stage fund or an accelerator, that actually offers liquidity for its investors, which means that you don't have to wait 10 years, you can wait 3 years for liquidity, at least partial. Number 2, I want to mention that in Tokyo, they have probably one of the most advanced regulated systems for ICOs globally. And why? Because they have 60% of the global blockchain trading and Bitcoin trading. and they have the best regulatory environment for it. So there is not only to learn from the US, there is definitely other countries to learn from. Now, I'm not going to go through this, but you see globally that sometimes it's red, sometimes it's green, depending on the day. This day is pretty okay, so most regulatory announcements are more green than red, but it changes by the day. The big thing is that Europe is catching up, and catching up heavily. I want to point out two things. The Gibraltar jurisdiction, which has actually a specific ICO jurisdiction, which actually is saying, don't do case by case, don't ban it, let's see and figure out how this can be a new way of doing things. That's standing out globally. And Switzerland just announced 48 hours ago something very, very thorough, where they also distinguish between what you can do and what you're not allowed to do. Okay, so what are the 4 key features that why I'm so excited about this? Number 1 is liquidity. It's all about liquidity. I worked so hard on these 3 angel exits in a week that David mentioned. Now I see a path that you can actually do exits way quicker and way more often, which becomes that the asset class itself becomes way more interesting. The second thing is tokenization, the third thing is internationalization, and the fourth thing is deal flow. So I'll go through these 4 things that I think are really disruptive for the whole industry, but not for us. Actually, we are coming to play now. Sand Hill Road is dead. Why is Sand Hill Road dead? Because the only thing that Sand Hill Road has is actually money. They forgot, as the Roman Empire, what actually is value add. They are not doing what they're saying, that they're introducing customers and all that. They're just sitting there waiting for the entrepreneurs to come to provide money. Cash is a commodity, so they will not survive. So what does this mean for any angel fund, any angel syndicate, any accelerator, is that the 10-year long terms that we've had in terms of exits are diminished. And that is actually what is really, really disruptive, and the number 1 disruption that is occurring here. And I, again, just want to make sure that everybody understands you don't have to invest into ICOs if you do these structures. You can still invest in equity. The second thing is the ICO process itself. Those of you, or very few, 10% of you, who have invested into ICO, maybe not all of you, but some of you have actually invested without a face-to-face meeting. That is actually disruptive. We have always said that you need to meet the person in order to invest. What you're having with the Telegram and the ICO and the white paper and the video conference, which are face-to-face but a substitute to face-to-face, is that money is coming in without a traditional face-to-face meeting, which means that the time to fund and to actually do fundraising is diminished radically. I would call that a process improvement and not a pure disruption, but it's a huge process improvement. Now, the third thing here is international. So we all dream about that we should be able to invest in that company in our city, which will make the whole globe. And there are very, very few that do that. If we do work together and actually are in many cities working together, we can provide that value add that angel investors have always done in terms of internationalize the company. And this tokenized ICO process is actually providing a breakthrough in that. I think that's disruptive. Now, the last thing, if I get there up, is the deal flow. So we have always said that in order to invest into a company, we need to have people on the ground. And that keeps true even today. But if we do a tokenized fund where we have participants from 30 cities and 300, then there will be one person who is actually in that city to verify if that entrepreneur is the guy or woman that we should put a bet on. So these are the four really things that I see as really, really fundamentally interesting with a tokenized fund. And I'll just repeat them once more. The liquidity aspect, that we don't have to wait for 10 years for an exit, that we can do partial exits in 36, 48, 52 months through the liquidity that the token and the smart contract provides, I think will mean that a lot of more people will invest into the asset class. The tokenization process that we can actually raise money globally quicker is a major process improvement. And the international piece, which means that we can, with the help of all those who actually are being part of tokenized fund, that they can actually do their value add and actually help internationalize the companies there. Why am I stressing that fact? Because for every single act you do, Barbara's talked about a customer. If you actually provide an introduction to a customer, there is always a free rider effect, right? There are always, you know this in your angel groups, there are 20% that are working and the 80% are not working and really helping the company, right? What does this help? It's basically saying that in the smart contract, if Candace has provided an introduction to that company, she gets a utility token. She gets the benefit of it, and it's liquid within 3 to 4 years. Same for buy bars. So it's very, very, very fair. And you eliminate the free rider effect to that extent that the free riders must be active. And then the true angel investment piece has come. For me, that is not only disruptive, but that's where the angel investors are finally coming into play. And the last thing was about the deal flow and the internationalization and how to detect these companies, which we can only do by a combination of seeing who actually started the company and people on the ground. That again is helped by the tokenized funds. So I'm very, very passionate about this. I think, you know, this is really the future. We've seen embryos like blockchain capital in the US, like Spice VC, which I think is based out of Abu Dhabi. I do believe that this will be a groundbreaking trend for the next 5-10 years. I'm in it, or if you are in it again with me, join me. I think we can do it. Thank you.